Hello from Chiang Mai, Thailand. It's 23 April 2020 at 0:43 in the morning. So it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning, 17 more minutes here in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Wait till a few people get on and then we'll get started. Interesting things to talk about. And then I'm just going to mostly take questions. I'll talk about barcodes to start with. I just finished doing the John Batchelor show with Gordon Chang. It was taped. So they're going to broadcast it later. I didn't ask when they're going to broadcast it. Sorry about that. It was very interesting. It was more about Hong Kong than anything else. All right. So if you are coming on, please share this out. And I'm not sure if anybody's on yet, so I'm just looking at some notes here in the meantime and get started as soon as I see some people coming on. Please share this out because social media doesn't share out people like me. There was, for instance, YouTube. The boss at YouTube. Hey Tony, 5 baht, great. The boss at YouTube. Buffering. I hope it's not buffering sound very much. The boss at YouTube came out and said that they're going to um, basically shut down fake news that doesn't follow the narrative of World Health Organization and whatnot. we we know the World Health Organization has purveyed fake news themselves since the beginning of this pandemic. We know that. That is an absolute fact. And yet, so YouTube wants to follow the line of, if somebody says that that something that doesn't follow the World Health Organization or others, YouTube's going to shut them down. Amazing, huh? All right. So hey, Peggy, volume very low. Oh, well, let's turn that up. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. This should be higher. Hey, in Atlanta. And you got a Facebook notification, Michael says. That's great, Michael Tallcut. All right, so we'll talk about barcodes. You may have seen a lot of people talking about barcodes in the last 48 hours or so, and which is a very interesting thing to talk about now because a lot of people around the world want to boycott China right now. And it's very difficult to figure out what's manufactured in China. And sometimes there's really no way to do it. But the other times there are easy ways to do it. And I can tell you one thing, Chinese crap is crap anyway. Like, look at this mask. The other band fell off. I mean, it just fell off. I didn't snatch the thing off. It just fell off. The other band just fell off. Piece of crap. Yeah, this is a life-saving piece of crap from China, right? How many times have they poisoned medicines into the United States? How many times has this come up in the news over the years? It has quite a lot. And read the book China RX. It's happened. You can just look in the news. You'll see so many instances where China has put poison out in foods or in. Or here's a problem I had today with my. I was out watering I planted a bunch of stuff like peppers and whatnot, and and it stopped my little things like this. China can't make. I mean, this thing is broken now. I got to get a new one. It's like, it's got water in it. It is new. Piece of crap. So that one was to replace this one. Remember when I went over all those can openers, like more than 10 can openers that I bought here that didn't work until I finally had to get 2 from America. I had to get a KitchenAid and I got a P38, the Army ones. P38 and a KitchenAid because these pieces of crap from China. I went through like 10 or 12 can openers. I showed them a couple times because I kept them in a box. I still got those pieces of crap. So it's just on. And I was doing my fingernails the other day, so my fingernails don't look like like Wolfman Jack when I come on to do podcasts. And I keep them clean anyway, but I was cleaning them up even more. And my fingernail clipper broke, so I ordered some of those from America. This is what we're going through. They poison medicines. They withhold medicines. They send faulty gear, faulty tests, faulty everything. They're a bunch of scam artist criminals. Anyway, let's talk about barcodes. And then I'm going to answer as many questions as I can. Yeah, P38 will open any can that I've ever tried, and it does it very easily. P38 is a quality can opener. It's about that big, literally. It's an Army can opener. And they've had them since World War II. I don't think the design has changed at all, has it? I don't know. If you look at the photos of the World War II ones and the ones they make now, they look the same to me. I can tell you one thing: no, open a can, no problem. I've never had a problem with a P38. Cleanly opens your can, about that big. You could hold like 50 of them in your hands right here, and they cost about 50 cents each, right? Meanwhile, anyways, can openers. So let's talk about barcodes, and I'm going to start answering questions. Now, you see a lot of people talking about barcodes and which barcode and what barcodes belong to China. So I printed out a list that I found online of barcodes. Sorry, you can find one of these lists. You don't need a hyperlink to it because they're easy to find, just like list of barcodes, right? Like the U.S. is got the zeros to the 100 is all U.S. Like our international calling number for U.S. is 001, right? So and then comes into 300 to 379 is France and Monaco. 200 is restricted distribution. 380 is Bulgaria. 383 is Slovenia. 385 Croatia. I won't go through them all, but then we get up to some really high quality numbers here. Is 440 for Germany. If I see 440, I'll think that's probably quality, right? And then the next is 450 to 459. That's Japan. I'll always buy Japanese or German products. They're quite good. Now, 471 is Taiwan, right? Now, China will have you think that Taiwan is China, but it's not. Taiwan is Taiwan. Taiwan is some of the most quality people you'll ever meet in the world. Taiwanese. They're incredible people. They do incredible work. They were the country that was most far ahead on this disease. If you want to know what you should do next on this disease, pay attention to Taiwan. I do. Pay attention to Taiwan. They're smart and they don't have a bunch of wool over their eyes. But anyway, when it comes to products, a lot of their companies are in mainland China. But if I see 471 on it, I'll think, probably Taiwanese. I don't know. There's no way for me to audit that. But Taiwanese, Chinese, Taiwanese, they are not our enemies. They are our friends. They are absolutely our friends. But let's get down to the real stuff. 885 is Thailand. I'm in Thailand, 885. And what's this one? This is my vinegar. I got some vinegar from, because I'm going to be doing some pickling and fermenting and all that. This one's 130. So that's American. Well, that's Heinz, right? Heinz, all the way over in Thailand. Heinz. How about this one? My oolong tea. Actually, I make most of it myself, but I got some in the bottle. No sugar, of course. This one is 888. 888 is Singapore. Also our friends. And quality, high quality Singapore. 888. 888, what a fortuitous number. And for a lot of people that are into the number thing, 888 it means infinity, infinity, infinity. So it can be good luck for some people. One of my fire extinguishers. I got fire extinguishers all over the place. What's this thing? Isn't there a barcode on this thing somewhere? I got fire extinguishers everywhere. Oh, here it is. 885, made in Thailand. Actually, it says made in Thailand somewhere. But you can see it's got Thai writing on it as well. So you can tell that I think Thai makes a lot of quality products. Otherwise, I wouldn't have Thai fire extinguishers all over my house. So buy Thai. Buy Thai products, good products. I got Thai fire extinguishers all over my house. I wouldn't put fire extinguishers in my house if they weren't quality. How about this one? I got a few boxes of grapefruit juice, unsweetened, of course. 311, Australia. Good to go down under, mates. Apple cider vinegar. 007. Oh, United States again. And Bragg got a cool name. I was stationed at Fort Bragg when I was in the Army. Playground of the elite. And I got a bunch of medical stuff, of course. Saline solution. 888. Thailand. Good to go. I'm good with Thai medical stuff. Let's see. And some of my bandages. Where is this one from? Oh, Israel. Made from Israel. A lot of U.S. military stuff, bandages and stuff is from Israel. I'm fine with Israel. Israel, good to go. Batteries. Good old Japan. I know it's going to be quality if it's from Japan. So anyway, but let's get to the bad guys. The bad guys, maybe I shouldn't have gone through that so laboriously. The bad guys are 690 to 695. Now, seeing that doesn't mean necessarily this can get confusing because, you know, it can have a number from a different country, but it's really a Chinese company or parts came here, parts came there, that sort of thing. But if we see, because China for years has tried to get their name off of products that are in the United States and other places after they've poisoned a lot of Americans and others and done all kinds of horrible things. So they've tried to hide their name because they know they've got a bad name. So they try to hide their name behind other names, like quality names, like Japan, right? And so we need to root them out and expose who they are. Products with 690 barcode, start with first three digits, 690 to 695. That series is China, mainland China. It should be 666. A lot of Americans know what I'm talking about. Right. So, Eric was 10 years at Bragg, a black hat. All right. So, let's talk about that. And I'll answer as many questions as I can. But when it comes to boycotting, remember, we don't have to wait for the president or anybody else to do something. All we got to do is not buy Chinese products. It's very difficult to do with electronics. I still have to buy some Chinese products sometimes just because the American product isn't there and I need it. Listen, don't hesitate to buy a rifle from the enemy to shoot the enemy. Look, I'll buy another Apple computer if I have to because I'm in the Apple architecture and I'll use that computer to attack China. You know, that's all, you know, every day I attack China. I've been doing that for years. Everybody that's followed my work knows I'm attacking China constantly. This virus finally just made some of us not look crazy. That's all. Where's this water from? 400. Oh, Germany. Good old Germany. I lived in Germany for 4 years. Great place. Now the Germans are angry at China. I got some sparkling. This stuff's kind of expensive, but when I'm fasting, I haven't eaten in 14 days. No food. When I'm fasting, I like to drink some quality water. Makes me feel special. All right, let's try to answer some questions. All right, here we go. Kane Longshore. Michael, don't want to interrupt your live, but you did. That's okay. But what's up? I am the babyface Alabama native who was hit by a grenade and saved a kid from a fire in your tracer burnout internet report on 2011. Oh, yeah. I got photos of you. Yeah. Wait a minute. Yeah. Yeah, I got photos of you. Tell me later, man. I'll send them to you. I have to go in my archives. You guys fought really well, man. I was very proud and honored to be out in combat with you guys. You guys were. I got some good photos of you. I remember. So anyway, just tell me later, Kane, and I'll get you those photos. Your family might enjoy them. Let's see. Ewan Kip Moon. What's Ewan saying? Ewan's always got something interesting to say. Since anyone in the retail process can take responsibility for obtaining the barcodes for a product, from the company who invented the product to the manufacturer to importer to distributor and even the retailer. And since these different players in the retail process often reside in different countries, looking at a given UPC or EAN number reveals little to nothing about the origin of the product. Yeah, I mean, see, that's a problem. However, that said, not let's be careful. I don't believe that anybody's going to put the the Chinese barcodes on their product voluntarily. I mean, who would voluntarily put a Chinese barcode on their product? I mean, seriously, I would be trying to put American, Japanese, German, Swiss. You know what I mean? There ain't no way I would put a Chinese barcode on my product. It's no way. And so pending pending resolution of question, but I don't believe most people would put the 690 to 6950 first digits on their barcodes, because that's China. You're not going to help your sales. I mean, if I pick it up and I see a can of beans and a can of beans and one of them's got 690, I'm like, forget that one. I mean, the other one might be from China too, but one of them's actually saying, hey, I'm from China. You know, it's like, I'm not going to, yeah, boycott China now. Hey, Adrian. Let's see. I'm just looking for questions to answer, and if there's not many, I will. Kane, I hope you're okay from the grenade shot. Let's see. 10 years at Bragg. Let's see. Santa Barbara. Let's see here. Hello in California, everybody, and at Fort Bragg. Is any country 444? Jennifer, you seem to know about numerology. Or not really numerology, but, well, maybe. Is that what it's called? When, like a lot of people, especially Chinese, 444 means death, death, death. That's why you don't see flights. Like, you won't see a flight from China Air that has flight number 444. You know what I mean? That would freak out a lot of Chinese. Well, let's see who's China. But 444 means death, right? But 8 means can. It depends on what culture, because there's so many different, different numbers mean different things to different cultures. But for a lot of people, like a lot of Thais, 888 will mean like infinity. 8's a lucky number. But I know Chinese can hate 4 if it's done incorrectly. Let's see. Like they don't want 4 on something like a roller coaster ride. No, 444 would be. There's nobody with that, because it ends at between Germany is 400 to 440, and then it skips 440 to 449, which would have 444. Maybe for that reason, actually, who knows? Maybe for that reason, because if Chinese saw that number 444, that might hurt somebody's market. Seriously, totally seriously. There's a lot of people that will absolutely make purchasing decisions based on things like that. But funny question, Jennifer. Actually, smart question, but I think most people won't understand what you're asking if that's how you're asking it. Eric asked, are barcodes linked to international telephone prefixes? I wondered that same thing, and I already checked, so I already know the answer. The answer is negative. Not to my knowledge. I did not see any correlation, except that, like US, it has the 0 series and our international code 001, of course. But my health is great, Mr. Shazai. Very good. Thank you for asking. Very, very good. I'm fasting now. I haven't eaten for 14 days, and I feel quite good, actually. Let's see. All right. Jennifer Hack saying, I think I told you about the 58,000 pieces of faulty PPE and equipment we had to send back to China last month from Australia. Yeah, just what we needed in a crisis. Yeah, you know what they do too. They steal all your stuff. or buy it and then and do true. They did a true price gouging and a true hoarding. That was malicious in every sense of the word. Bunch of scumbags, man. China is scumbags. Or you heard what the Hong Kong guy say. That was pretty famous in that video. China is a-hole. that went totally viral. The way he said it, people made a song out of it and everything. Yeah, 888 is lucky, but not 444. Let's see. Let me go back down to the bottom. Tiffany says, I'm not eating any grains right now. Good, good. Although I have a lot of grains. I bought a lot of grains for food storage. Normally I don't eat that many because, for obvious reasons, but for caloric storage, because they're cheap. And, if you're going to stock up on a lot of food, you can get the cheap stuff. A lot of grains are cheap. And so I got just a lot of stuff like that. I got more stuff like I love Thai rice, but I don't generally eat that much rice. But rice is a very price-worthy product and long shelf life rice. And so it's good to have a lot of jasmine rice. Thai's got good rice, man. If you can get some jasmine rice, you should buy it up, man. That stuff's good. Kids will get hooked on it. It's good if it's cooked right. Vicky saying, I watched a good interview on American Thought Leaders with a man in Taiwan. It was very good. American Thought Leaders is a great show. I've been on it as well. Bruce is saying, maybe a follow-on topic. You mentioned YouTube blocking podcasts, etc., opposing the World Health Organization and National Institutes of Health. What can we do to get good information, analysis, debate, dialogue? For example, what if YouTube blocks War Room Pandemic? Steve Bannon. He and I will find different ways. Like like you're watching mine right now on Facebook, but there's other people watching mine simultaneously right now on YouTube. It's also going out to Periscope. Luckily there's multiple many social media platforms as well. So they can hurt us, but they're not knocking us out. Which vitamins am I taking? Dan is saying, I don't have them here. I had them out earlier because I was filling up my little weekly pill bottle thing. Just like a multivitamin, zinc, magnesium, a mineral as well, and vitamin C and D3. Right, that's it. Not a lot of stuff, but I'll have some elderberry soon, and I'll take elderberry as well. That's a lot more than I normally take. But two things going on right now. One is I'm fasting, and two, and I don't mean one meal a day. I'm talking zero food. So it's been 14 days. I've had zero food, not one single bite of food, not a grain of rice. And so I am taking vitamins. How many languages am I fluent in? Only German, really. I can smatter around in a lot of others. Let's see. Adrian, do you think the current blame game CCP USA could lead to a war? Well, I don't think the blame game is going to lead to a war, but we are at war. We are already at war. We have been for years. China's been at war. Will it become a shooting war? Chances are significant, definitely significant, because China's out being audacious with Malaysia, Philippines, Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong, United States. On that interview I just did with Gordon Chang and John Batchelor, we just taped it less than an hour ago. Gordon brought up, he thinks China basically is afraid, and they're doing so many. They just threatened Kyrgyzstan, I think he said. Got very loud with the French ambassador, I believe. I'm not sure. I'd have to check into that. But Gordon just mentioned that in our pre-recorded interview less than an hour ago, 45 minutes ago. And so something about either the Chinese ambassador said something bad to the French leadership or something. I got to look this up because the way Gordon said it, I was like, note to self, look this one up. But it's clear that China they're worried. And they got a lot to worry about. They have a lot of people to feed. Think about that. They don't have food security. Think about that. They don't have food security. That's a big deal. And that's why I keep telling people to buy food too. More food that you have, the longer you can last, the more you have time to make adjustments with a full belly. Last thing you want to do is have an emergency and go, and I'm out of food and the kids are hungry. I mean, that's like crazy. You know what I mean? That's like taunting Mother Nature and Darwin at the same time. Don't throw darts at Mother Nature or Darwin because they'll both smoke you, real quick. And China doesn't have food security at all. They could have a serious, especially with economic collapse. So many. Their problem set is so large. I could talk about it for hours. But another reason I keep saying be resilient, which means like stock up food, water. I just keep saying those two things, but there's many others, of course. Resilience is something that some of us have talked about for years, right? We just don't always use the word resilience. Others will call it prepping. A more sedate term could be resilience. Be resilient, right? And China's not very resilient, actually. They don't have. Well, when you don't have food security, that's a problem. And Hong Kong doesn't have food security either. But Hong Kong has friends. At least Hong Kong has friends. And nothing against Chinese people. Steve Bannon says that all the time, and I say it too. It's not against Chinese people. It's against the Chinese Communist Party because we're out to get them. And make no mistake, we are out to destroy the Chinese Communist Party. I might have a cold. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, Ron Reese says you seldom find a fourth floor elevator. Certainly not like in some places where people are afraid of the number 4 because that can make them afraid of elevators. Or in the United States, still no 13th floor, as an example. If you get into an elevator in the United States, you might go, hey, where's the 13th floor? Do I have to press secret numbers here to make it go to 13th floor? But actually, it just skips by. There's probably still a lot like that. Let's shoot down to the bottom for any questions. I'm going to try to answer as many as I can. The U.S. should be self-sufficient. But we've actually fumbled the ball on our strategic grain reserve, our any mask reserve, which makes me wonder about our actual strategic oil reserve. How much is really in there? How much is really in our strategic seed reserve? Strategic seed reserve is also a very big deal. There's many, which is stored up in very cold area up north, way up north. But I mean, why we can't trust that they say our strategic pork reserve is maxed out, or I haven't heard them say that lately, but there are basically so many strategic reserves. It calls everything into question. Do we really have it? Get food. Do you trust that the United States government's just going to go, oh, we happen to have 10 billion masks laying around? No problem. Do you trust that they have a bunch of grain and pork and all that laying around? I don't trust them. It's crazy to wait. Yeah, like Megan says, I don't believe any reserve but my own. There you go. One way to see if you've got the reserves that you sense that you need, because everybody's got a different situation, different geography, different weather, if you got elk running around all over your front yard and you got a rifle, you don't have a protein problem, that's for sure. And you know what I mean? You got a glacial creek running out the back door. You don't have a water problem. You know what I mean? So, but other people can have these problems. And so you have to, adjust for your own situation. Same thing in France, right? Hey, Gene. Excuse me. What does Ron Reese, my friend, say? They can only fill the SPR with 5 million per day, Strategic Petroleum Reserve. So I've read with numerous resources. 5 million barrels a day, I'd say. Liz is saying chicken processors are selling for 40-pound boxes of meat directly to the public in Raleigh, 2-hour lines to drive up and pick up meat. Oh, Lord. Now, people that were getting that in January probably got it at a better price and they didn't have to wait in line. And you could get all that you want. You could get a whole warehouse. You could have rented a warehouse. You're like, I don't have enough room in my garage. Well, go rent a warehouse. Because remember, we don't have supply shortages yet. Well, it could have just happened with pork. But mostly we don't have supply shortages yet. And I said yet. So, as you buy everything off the Kroger or Publix shelves, they'll just restock it at the moment, right? So it's not a big deal. It's not going to hurt anybody. You can order online, order Amazon, order Publix, order Kroger, order all these things online and store them up. Right now, it's the prime time to do it while the supply is still there. So you're not gonna leave anybody starving by stocking up now. Later, that could be a different story. Especially because remember, there's so many things that can happen to interrupt our supply or just our supply chains, right? So many things, or just hyperinflation nails the money supply or whatever, right? There's so many things. Just get it now. Just get it now. I've seen this happen. I'm telling you. I feel like I'm now one of those old people that are like, son, let me tell you. Well, they used to tell me that my whole life, and now here it is, right? Tony Martinez, do you know if there's a way to find out which publicly traded companies and mutual funds have significant CCP ownership without going to SEC and reviewing required filings? I don't know. I do know a lot are like pension funds. I believe CalPERS was heavily invested in China. Let's see. Adrian is saying it was reported today through Epoch Times and others that she is fighting a CCP internal power struggle. They have been for years. Remember those buses full of PLA entering Beijing a few weeks ago? What was that all about? Let's hope they kill each other. Kim O'Brien, I ordered $500 worth of groceries from the local grocery store and had to wait 2 weeks and only got $200 worth. Wow. Because they were out of most of it. Listen, one of the things that you can help to figure out how good your supply is, how resilient you are, is make a spreadsheet, like make an Excel spreadsheet. And when you have to sit down and count everything up, it causes you to think about it and consider it. You know what? For starters, it makes you think it through more. And then you can add it up, like add up all your stuff, right? And divide it into however you want to divide it. And if you're somebody that already has inventory software, you can use the inventory software. And then add a field for calories. And then add up those calories in every field, right? Put them in there. It makes you stop, count calories so that you can add up and see how many. Let's say somebody my size and I'm going to be active. Let's say I need 3,000 calories a day, right? To be, well fed. So I would just add up all these different numbers and go, okay, how many days would that be roughly if I stuck to roughly 3,000 calories a day? And that'll give you roughly how many days of food you got, more or less. You know what I mean? It's not exact, of course, but at least it's got you thinking about it. And you might go, wow, I got, probably 63 days of food, or maybe, more. I would say bare minimum, everybody should have 120 days of food, unless you are living in a circumstance like you're really out in the boonies of Montana and you know how to feed yourself, from off the land, like some people do, like I can. If I got a rifle and I'm out in Montana, I don't need that much. I mean, I want to grow vegetables and that sort of thing, but I mean, I won't have any problems with protein because I can hunt, and so it's like and fish and all that stuff. But most people can't. But also, you should keep food supply anyway, even if you're in that great situation, because what if you get sick? What if this? What if that? What if everything? The hunter of the house is sick. You need to have backup so that the rest of the family or whatever is not dependent on you, the leader, to what if you're sick? What if you get this disease and now your lungs are damaged? Now there's evidence that this disease, even when you fully recover, quote unquote, it's leaving like severe lung damage, and kidney damage, and testes damage, and other things. Nobody knows yet. It's still too early in this. Jennifer Hack, we have been told that going ahead with joint Navy exercises in the Pacific is wrong by China. The CCP, on the other hand, is getting alarmingly active on the ocean. They're trying to intimidate people because that's what bullies do. The answer to that is to put your ships out there. And if they fire at your ship, fire back. And try to sink them. Try to sink as many of their ships as you can see. That's the answer to it. And of course, that leads into straight to a war. But the bottom line is, do not allow them to fire without being fired back. And if you fire back, shoot to kill. And shoot everything you can see. Kill it all. And then let them think it through. They might respond with a nuclear weapon or whatever. Maybe they will. If they know that, if they do that, of course, they know that we will kill like 1 billion Chinese. Of course, they'll wipe out the United States too. But do not let them push around. They'll have to make a decision. Do you want to have Armageddon? Because we're not going to be punks. We're not going to be you can do your nuclear test and threaten us with nuclear weapons, which they've clearly done. Because we're not going to be chumped, there's some of us who are live free or die, or live free or kill, because we'll kill you, China. I know all your little spies are listening everywhere. I love the statement that your Ministry of Foreign Affairs made to Missouri today about you're just a bunch of chumps in China. You got big problems ahead, China. Big problems. We're all boycotting your bullshit, and we don't believe you anymore. And we're not going to get off the high seas, and we're not going to have freedom of we're not going to stop our freedom of navigation. And if you sink one of our ships, we're going to kill you. You know, we can kill all those islands out there, and we can do that in any afternoon. Of course, you can fire back too, and then we'll be in a real shooting war. And then guess what? Hundreds of millions of Chinese will starve to death, even without a nuclear war. You'll be eating each other like you did during Mao's days, worshiping Mao. What a scumbag. Worshiping Mao like he's a god. I stood in line and I saw Mao, the plastic Mao or wax Mao or whatever he was. I was up there. I went up to Beijing. That was 2002. What a joke. Looking at all these brainwashed Chinese standing in line for hours. I did it. I stood in line with them. And I went in there and I looked at him and I was like, what a piece of crap. They're actually, that's like walking around. That's like taking a piece of wax crap and worshiping it. That's what you guys do. Jennifer Hack. Yeah, they're going to about, let's see. Lay Fricks, Tiffany Wegman. If you live out in the suburbs, I hear it's okay. I've never lived there. Let's see. Kelly Renee. It's been a week or so since I showed up. You're looking good. Thank you. Thank you, Kelly. I'm losing weight because I'm fasting. I got to get ready back for war because we're going to end up in a war. I don't know how it's going to unfold or whatever. We're in a war right now. There's so many things at stake here. Economy's collapsing. I need to get back to the United States to see my country. And then if we get into a shooting war with somebody, China possibly, or Iran, I mean, if it's significant enough, I'll go. So I need to be thinned up. I need to be a lot smaller than I am now. And able to run and all that, very well. Because there is the quick and the dead when it comes to combat. And quick has many faces. Sometimes quick is recognizing danger way in advance, like me saying, watch out, buy a mask in January. And then there's another form of quick. Sometimes you just got to be able to run towards the enemy or away, depending on who's got the advantage. Let's see. All right. Do I think Rocket Man is dead? You mean, Kim Jong-un? Well, I don't know. if he is, they could take his body and feed it to North Korea, and they would have plenty of pork for a week. Let's see. Uh, Winnie Lowe, China is not only good for bullying its own people, they wouldn't dare to fire the first shot to a country supported by USA. I think they would, actually. I think they would, because they're desperate. And desperate people, desperate countries do desperate things. I absolutely think they would. Or it could just be a miscalculation. I mean, one of their ships runs into a Navy ship, a U.S. Navy ship, and somebody on our ship just shoots them. You know what I mean? It's that simple. Or they look like they're going to do something and we shoot them. And then they start sinking our ships and we start sinking theirs. And the next thing you know, we cut off everything from each other. And we sink thousands of container ships out in the sea. Terrible economic. And not thousands, but I mean, we could cut off the South China Sea, as could they, right? Think about that. We could cut off their supplies, food supplies. And I wouldn't hesitate. I would not hesitate. I mean, this is dangerous times. It's never been more epically dangerous than this. I mean, the specter of a full-on nuclear exchange is very real, and it could happen through just some stupid Chinese general says, "Let them have it." You know what I mean? And then we fire back. Megan says, "Do you think they would bring back the draft?" Well, if needed. I mean, there's a reason why we have a draft registration. I mean, I'm thinking if I were president, would I bring back a draft? I wouldn't do it now, but it would certainly be something that would always be under consideration. Yep, Long Pig Kim. That's right. We call him Long Pig Kim. Long pig is an old term that has been used on Pacific Islands for many years, way back in the 1800s, for human flesh. For eating human flesh, because people taste like pigs, and there was pigs all over the islands because for various reasons, and they did a lot of cannibalism. So they called some places they call them long pig. Hey, Crystal Kinson, when am I coming back to Winter Haven? This year sometime. In fact, I just had a long phone call this morning about going to Tennessee as well. Matt Lee said, I'll be going to a lot more than that, a lot more than Tennessee and in Florida, but I'll be hitting a lot. Matt Lee says, how do you get calories and vitamins while fasting? Do you only drink water? I don't get any calories. And I just eat vitamin pills like normal that you get off the shelf. And drink water. That's it. Let's see. Oh, yeah. It's hard to get a lot of vitamins and that sort of thing now, isn't it? All right. I think I've answered all the questions. Lisa is saying this is on a biblical level, something to think about. I've been saying that since January, that if this goes in the direction that I think it may go, and now it is going that direction, there'll be famines that are just like of proportion that have probably never been seen in human history. First of all, there's more humans now, and more humans now are dependent upon food produced by others. And they're dependent upon supply chains sometimes that are thousands of miles long. So the various levels of dependency, like food produced by others far away, that has to travel on the high seas and every other way. The prospects of famines across the world are severe. They're going to happen. The question is how big and how many. It's not a matter of if. And famines is, again, something like infectious diseases, biological warfare. These are all things that I've studied for years. People that know me know that I've talked about famines on and off for years. I'll be, talk about famines because famines are a part of war. You have to understand how famines work to understand how these can affect a war and how a war can make a famine and how pandemic make. That's why in January I was like, okay, if this goes the way it looks like it's going, there will be wars and there will be famines and there'll be more pandemics. I mean, because a pandemic can also spawn more pandemics, because oddly, pandemics, big ones, create wars and famines. And you know what wars and famines create? More pandemics. So I mean, it's like it's a big fur ball. And so I mean, that's what, yeah, South Africa, that's big trouble. Trump, some Barbara saying Trump 2020 will bring our factories back to USA. I think they're not going to have a great choice, because are you going to buy, if some factory gets in the news like, you know, so and so is moving their production over to China, are you ever going to buy their stuff again? I mean, seriously, the backlash before this is all over, all of us know somebody that's going to die. All of us before this is over. Remember, the experts just recently were saying they expect maybe 60,000 Americans to die just in the first wave. Now we're up to about 60 right now, right? How many so far? It'll be there soon. If not, it's going to be there. I've stopped counting. I've stopped watching every day, because I know I'm watching the rest of the big board. There's more big board going on than the virus. The virus is major, so you got to pay attention to that a couple hours every day. And then there's food issues, and then there's other issues and there's all of these issues there's some big parts of the problem sets, like China, famines, other issues like locusts that can create food problems. Yeah, it's really, really serious. Wayshawn says, this makes me wonder if Australia will make itself a target for invasion or some kind of serious arm twisting. You know, China's going to do anything it can to threaten Australians. I strongly believe Australians will fight. Australia would be easy to invade, though. Australia is simple to invade. It's just a matter of if the United States comes to help Australia, which I think that we would. But if it was just Australia on its own, Australia would be simple to take. It'd be no problem. You just have to take some casualties and you get right in there and start mopping it up. Hello, John Lee. Rodriguez. So what will China do if the world cuts them off? Who knows? Who knows what their answers will be? I can tell you one thing. Everybody that owes China anything, you should wipe it off the slate. I'm sure everybody's planning on doing it. Just like all that stuff we owed China, forget it. Because they've just caused horrific economic damage to everybody. Jennifer saying Australia can send raw materials to USA if you guys can work with it. We're going to need it. And in the United States, obviously, and actually we should station troops in Australia at this point, and more in Japan. We should make it very, serious that if you try to invade Australia, it'll be like you're trying to invade an American state. We will fight tooth and nail. We'll wipe your people off Australia and fight alongside Australians to wipe out any Chinese invaders. My friend Rodney Morris, a retired Army officer, 46,149 deaths as of 22 April, and 829,000 new total cases in the U.S. And it's 2.5 million cases right now reported throughout the world. But just write it down. It won't be very much longer. It'll be, 10 million. That'll just be it'll be next month. It'll be more than that next month. And then soon after that will be 100 million cases. And it won't be much longer after that. There'll be 1 billion cases. That's the way this is going. It's not being contained. Talk about flattening the curve and these sorts of things. That's local, and that's destroying our economy. So I say local to the United States and any other country that's doing it, and Thailand as well. But it's destroying our economies. And you see these press conferences that go on for hours and hours and hours, whether it's with governors or presidential level or that sort of thing. You know, back when I was in business, which is something I don't talk about much because it's not that big. It's not important. It was a great education experience for me. For instance, you know how I study. I study like crazy. I read so many books on MBA stuff. I could probably pass an MBA test, or at least back then. So many books on accounting and finance and just stacks and stacks, right? And you know, I learned a lot of things about accounting, finance, that sort of thing. And one thing that I remember from one book, I wish I could remember the name of it. It was about forensic accounting, and it was about fraud prevention. That's what the book was about. And because, you know, there's many fraud prevention techniques that a business can use. For instance, mandatory vacations every year. Everybody has to take 2 weeks off, period, or a month, whatever you're. In other words, you can't say, no, I don't want to take a vacation. Like 8 years later, my best employee ever never takes vacations, right? And then suddenly that employee gets sick. And that's when you realize that employee was stealing hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. Because as soon as the employee's not at work, then the house of cards collapses. So that's why he or she never took a vacation, right? Didn't want to. So that's why you have mandatory vacations in some places, right? So if there's any hanky panky going on, it'll show up, right? Interesting though, I remember reading, and I've paid attention to this ever since. This one forensic, he was, what was the name of the book? Anyway, the bottom line is, it was when he's reading financials from companies, you know, end of year financials, and if there's a big cover letter from the CEO that goes on for pages and pages, he's like, every single time, dump, get rid of that stock. Something's wrong. If if the really short letters, it'll just be like, you know, a few paragraphs and, you know, Merry Christmas, and that'll be it. End of year, you know, letter is finished, right? But when they got trouble, and it's a super long letter that goes with the trouble, it shows that there's a lot more to the problem than even they're letting on, even with that long problem. And I can't help but think that as I watch these multi-hour daily interviews all over the United States, like hours and hours, the president and the vice president and Fauci and all these other people up there, Bricks, you know, talking hours on end, day after day, they realize how serious this is. And, you know, saying that 60,000 deaths and we may be back to work soon and everything will be normal. Let me tell you what, that is transparent bullshit. It's not going to be back to normal soon. And we're not even finished with the first wave at all. If this one even comes in waves, some of these aren't seasonal, who knows? But my gut feeling is if this is 1,000-mile marathon, we're in about the second mile. We're really not in full contact yet with this enemy virus. We're still just kind of probing each other. We're still on the edges. We haven't even got there yet. It's coming. Stock up on food. Do everything that you can to make yourself more resilient, because more serious days are coming ahead, and they're going to make this look like a joke. I'm staking my reputation on saying that. I'm saying it as clear as day. I think 90% chance what is in the future for us is far more serious than what we're seeing at the moment. Far more serious. I'm staking my reputation on it. Let's see. Barbara says, it has taken the USA over 40 years to learn they need to make things let's see. Serena Printer. I have sent diapers to my son, 4 grandbabies. As he is concerned, heartfelt too. I hope they never short. You know, he needs to learn how to wash diapers. You got to do it old school. Yeah, smash that like button, please. Not only smash that like button, smash that donation button, because I'm coming back to America. I got to figure out how to make money to do all this, because I'm thinking about, I was talking with Al Johnson. If you hit one of these, like that goes straight to my Venmo. That'll donate. If you put your camera on that, your 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 iPhone camera or whatever, or here, and take a photo, or just open up the camera, it'll open up for donations. Or Patreon doesn't have one of those, but Patreon's actually the best. And then you can donate. But actually, I've got to figure out a way to fund. And actually, we can. You know what? One night we should just come on a podcast dedicated to that, and you can tell me what are your ideas? What are the best ways to fund this? Like a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter, or all at the same time, or whatever. It might need to be multiple at the same time. I'm concerned though, if I do like a GoFundMe and a Venmo, or not Venmo, but Kickstarter, or those things at the same time, it might make people angry. But the problem is, like, a lot of people won't donate to Patreon because they're like, they don't like Patreon because of their political stance, or PayPal for the same reason, or they just don't have an account and they don't want to get one. Or if I get I think it's gonna. We can talk about it together sometime. But I am coming back, and what I'm thinking about doing is getting, for instance, a good motorhome that I can do interviews like this inside. Not with this, of course, that's too big. But I mean, but like, it doesn't need any background. But that I can travel around the United States and find people who are successful in what they're doing. Like, just go and city after city, town after town, small town, big town, and ask people, what are you doing? What are looking for the people who are really thriving and making money and making success, and then putting the camera in their face and saying, tell everybody how you're succeeding, so we can share this information. Because every little thing helps, and other people will be in a similar situation. You maybe with a farm, maybe you had a restaurant business, but now it's out. And we'll talk to people who are succeeding, not to people who are failing. They've got very important stories, but what we really need to do is focus on, hey, how do we get this economy going back again? And our economy is going to be really different. It's going to be different. I mean, how many people are going to be working at McDonald's? We've talked about that minimum wage issue for many years. Kiosk replacing workers and that sort of thing. And now with the social distancing, and we're being sort of reprogrammed as well. Imagine how many minimum wage people are not going to have jobs anymore. That's serious. And we've got to work through this, get small businesses up again, and finding out who is succeeding, and just put the camera in front of their face. Actually, we need to have a whole show podcast. It's not really a show. We're just a community, right? That's centered around my social media, and figure out, what should we call it? Not what should I call it? What should we call it? What should we call this? Camera in your face talk? You know what I mean? Like, here's my camera. Your whole community says that you're making a lot of money on selling widgets that you make. What are these widgets? How you doing it? How you selling them? You selling them online? You sell them, everything. What mistakes have you made? Where'd you lose money? How you making money? That's what we need to do. Everybody has to start sharing information. And I've started businesses before, and let me tell you what, for people who've done it, it is all consuming. So, finding people that are succeeding, they are going to be busy people. But remember, entrepreneurs cannot be kept down. And I'm entrepreneurial at spirit as well. As you can see, I'm thinking about how to go back to America and, first of all, feed myself, of course, and my people in my sphere, and then help bring my country economy back up. That's an entrepreneurial way to think about it, right? But what I'm thinking about doing is, probably some sort of, mobile home would probably be the smartest. Anyway, we'll figure it out. Then I can stay in campsites and people that are a part of our community can come see me at night. We can sit around and talk about stuff. That'd be fun, actually, when you think about it. Start down in maybe Key West and, or somewhere. And well, first, I got to get a motorhome. How much does things cost, And you need to get a proper one, a decent one that's comfortable to live in, but it is an office, straight up office. And then go from state to state. And then we could get together and sit around the fire and talk about things at night. Let's see. Jennifer says, ask every Navy down here. The tensions are up from Japan to Australia. Everyone is uneasy. Be prepared for some strange things, as Michael said. Yeah, Kelly says I need a bus. But actually, that said about going around America, if we have a shooting war, all gigs are off. You know me. I'm a war correspondent. I need to be where the combat is because I ain't bragging, but I think I'm the best war correspondent in America, quite frankly. I think I've got the most combat experience of any living American war correspondent. And I can handle the stress and that sort of thing. So if we end up in a shooting war, I might have gone through, 20 states and then I'm like, well, lock up the motorhome or the bus and be gone. Yeah. Maybe somebody out there's got a motorhome that they would donate. Let's see. Canada is working hard to regain normalcy, but they have granted fishing and spring hunts will continue as normal. Weishan saying, fight in South China Sea would be bad. Shallow water is deadly for submarines. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I'm not a Navy person, so I'm not going to say much more about that. So I'm just going to, I will say what's clear is all that shipping in the South China Sea, not to mention the Straits of Hormuz and Panama Canal. And I mean, China's, a lot of others are vulnerable, but so is China if we go full, Dracula on them. If we go Count Dracula, or as people in Florida would say it, getting it like Drac, it would be problematic for China. Kevin says, if your shooting war kicks off, you should start Mike's militia. I don't want a war to shoot off, especially not within the United States or any of the countries I'd love. Let's see. Terry saying, Michael, what about this digital Chinese currency they are just unveiled? What will this mean to U.S. dollars as far as competing with it? Well, they're trying to knock off the dollar. They have been for years. They're desperate. I mean, China, if the United States is hurting, imagine how badly China is hurting because we are their market as well. So are many of the European countries and other Asian countries and other countries around the world who are now devastated. They are China's market. China is in trouble. They're in serious trouble. Some of the things that we have in our favor on the United States is we have incredibly good farmers. They're the best farmers in the world. They're just unbelievable. I say that. I'm not expert enough to make that statement, so I'm going to recount that. But I've read that they're the best farmers in the world. I know one thing. They can get a lot of corn out of an acre of ground. You should see American farms. You should see it. You go to America and you drive around and you look at our farms, and then you drive around other countries and you look at their farms. You look at like a cornfield in America. That thing looks like a jungle. There's so much corn out there. You're like, holy smokes. When I go to a lot of other countries, there won't be like as many corn stalks per, acre or row or whatever. I mean, it's just not as much. Anything that we're growing in the United States is just like, seriously, for people that have traveled around the United States and traveled around the world, look at U.S. farms compared to a lot of others. I'm not saying Japanese can't get a lot out of the soil. They can, but I don't see it in Thailand as much. I don't see that like over the top, incredibly serious, like ultra scientific farming on a massive scale. In the United States, when you fly over the United States, you see all those circles, thousands of circles down there, for that's those irrigation systems, you know, just thousands. It's unbelievable. Our farmers can make some food. So that's a huge, luckily we got that going for us. But it doesn't mean we're going to necessarily not have real food shortages, because remember, there's more to do with food shortages than just supply. I mean, you still got to get it there. People still have to have the money, and all kinds of other things could still even interrupt the production. I mean, the production wise on the farms and that sort of thing, whether it's fishing or out on the farms, that can be interrupted as well. I mean, if China starts to starve to death, they're going to fish every tuna out of the sea, rest assured. And they'll be sinking anybody that's trying to get Philippines. You're in our fishing waters, bang, they'll just sink you. Yeah, yeah. Something to keep in mind, as I've said over the years, recent years, all these countries that are cozying up to China, just remember that. That has serious repercussions. Very serious. The utmost seriousness. Sabrina, corn and cotton grown in the town where I live. You should see, where are you at? Georgia? And they look at the cornfields out in Georgia. Look how big you can get lost in that corn. Actually, you can get lost in Afghan corn too. The Afghans are good farmers too. Afghans are quite good at farming. They're not as serious as Americans, but they're very good at farming. On the barcodes, Barry, you'll have to go back and 666. No, there's nobody with a 666 barcode to my knowledge, but that should be China. I need to make one of those fake barcodes. It's got and then it's just 666 made in China. A lot of people don't understand what we're talking about, and actually, a lot of Americans have no clue either. But I grew up hearing that in church about the 666 thing, and then you get older and you're like, wait a minute, that's actually what they're doing. Like, really what they're doing, no exaggeration whatsoever. It's not just China doing it either. It's UK, it's United States, it's Australia, it's a lot of people. Laura Stoyanov is saying, unfortunately, a lot of farmland is built over with housing complexes. I'm going to transform my yard to growing food. Serious. Also, on resilience, think about solar power if it makes sense for you economically. And remember, economically is not necessarily resilience, and economics don't necessarily always mean the same thing. I mean, you might build water or power resilience in that really won't pay itself back, or maybe it will. But that's not even the reason you're doing it. You're doing it so you don't run out of water, right? Not because you're doing it for other reasons than, for instance, if the grid goes down for me here, I will be able to continue to operate because if my grid goes down, I'll have power, right? So I'll be good to go. So I should still be able to broadcast, actually, if the grid goes down. But what if the communications grid goes down? Or networks go down. Then I'll have to crank up my SAT gear and all that stuff. So, but that's a whole different ball game. But so look into things that make you more resilient, like solar power, if that makes sense for you. I mean, it gives it, like today, it had big problems with the grid power. The grid power was like going crazy here in Chiang Mai, or in my particular little part, because I happen to be in a place of Chiang Mai that has bad grid problems. But since I've invested in resilience here, I was just watching it go, mess up the neighborhood, and my electricity was fine. I would hear my computer UPS going beep, beep as my rest of my batteries and everything would kick in, but no loss of power, everything's good to go, right? and I can recharge on the sun, no problem. So yeah, so there goes some of your donations I put into making sure my electricity doesn't go out. Thank you very much. So if everybody does go out here, I should still be able to communicate. Terry Cole saying, Michael, the Tyson plant processes 4% of the nation's pork is shutting down. Good grief. And it's not just Tyson, it's others. And 4%, some people might go, 4%, that's not that much. And you're like, oh, yeah, it is. Oh, yeah, it is. That's a lot. That's a lot. Sandra says, are we going to war? Yeah, we're in war. We're absolutely in war. And we have been for years, but now you're seeing it in a much more serious way. Look how many Americans are already dead. Can't get any more war than that. We've already had, within about 10 days from now, there'll be more Americans dead from this than the entire Vietnam War. There's already more dead Americans from this than the Iraq and Afghan wars combined already. Think about that. And it's just getting started. It's just getting started. I wish there was a way to let everybody talk at once instead of just me. We got to figure that out. Donald Babadelier saying, Michael, speaking of sat gear, you just reminded me of the previous leader's dumb questions to give China our satellite comm technology when we partnered with them in the 90s for satellite phone sats. You probably know the details. We've just given away the farm so much. It's unbelievable. Barbara Summy saying, Tyson, Smithfield, and other name brands shut down because of virus. Yes, we're in war. Oh, yeah. And this is why I was saying in January to buy food, prices are going to go up, and monetary inflation's coming at some point. So think about that. Food prices are going to go up. This is supply and demand. Food prices are going to go up. Monetary inflation is going to go up. There's a chance that, not a chance, I mean, an extremely high chance that there will be increasingly significant food shortages because of, even if the production's there, it still has to go through Tyson or Smithfield or whomever is next. What are you going to do when Campbell food plants start to shut? Or anybody, right? It can all happen so quickly, and it's happening right now. Barbara, how do you get rid of squirrels besides shooting them? You want to get? I wouldn't kill a squirrel unless I'm going to eat it. Well, one way you can do it is to make snares. That's pretty easy. You know how to make a snare? It's like take some. I don't have any here, but just take some wire and just make it. Well, look in the U.S. Army Survival Handbook, which I read like 30 times or something, or look how to catch. Look on YouTube how to catch a squirrel with a snare. Or you can make snares very cheaply. You can make some snares in the next couple hours, and deploy them around places where the squirrels climb. One of the ways to do it is to bait them with something they like to eat, like acorns or whatever, and you'll catch your squirrel. You'll snare them with their neck. Well, sometimes it'll get them on their legs or whatever, but then you can whack them with a baseball bat. But don't hit them with a baseball bat. Hit them in the head with something small, and like a hammer, and then eat them. They're good eating. Squirrels are good eating. They're tree rats, but they're vegetarians, aren't they? I need more water. Squirrels are easy to get. And if you got some of those big fat squirrels they got up north, man, that's really good eating. Because I'm from Florida, the squirrels we got are kind of small, but a lot of people, yeah, I've seen squirrels in other countries that are like freaking possums, man. They're massive. Donald is saying, yep, we were doing launches in China at one point. Sad. I think we then switched to Kazakhstan in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, fried squirrel and rabbits, very good. Get a dog. I'm not going to eat a dog. What's wrong with you? Let's see. Terry Cole, it's very going to, let's see. Terry, going to go so high. Imagine $18 a gallon milk and 15 for a loaf of bread, or $10 for a can of spam. Hyperinflation is coming. Terry, what you're saying sounds crazy. It's not. I've seen it. I've seen it in Poland. I saw it in East Germany. Saw it in Czechoslovakia. Saw it in Romania. Saw it in, oh, where else have I seen it? Iraq, Afghanistan, just so many, and some more. It's just like, and all of a sudden, like, everybody's losing weight. I'll tell you that much. Well, one good thing for America, a lot of Americans are fat, and so they got they can just cash in on all that fat by eating one meal a day, and then they'll get healthier. And oh yeah, Barbara's right. Barbara Moore, use peanut butter for bait. That's true. Oh, they'll go straight for that. But you know what else you'll catch with peanut butter is you'll get raccoons, and you'll get possums too. You'll get those with it, especially raccoons. Once a raccoon figures out the peanut butter jar, they'll open the jar. Raccoons are that smart. I love raccoons, but they're a little smart. But you can definitely get them with ketchup. I mean, not ketchup. What am I thinking? You can definitely get them with peanut butter. Peanut butter. I don't think. I doubt that squirrels would like ketchup, but they love peanut butter. You can see their little footprints. They'll dig if you. I mean, you just take it out. Just take like a teaspoonful of it and put it. What you want to do is channel them. When you make a trap, you want to channel them, or bait and channel in this instance. So you want to channel them to go through your snare, right? So that they don't not go through the snare to get the peanut butter. And if you do it on the side of a tree, once they get in the snare, they'll fall off the tree because they'll be fighting with the snare. And then that's when you come out and smack them, and then you eat them. Yeah, skunks. I'll bet you skunks love it. Strategic body mass reserve, James says. Yeah, that's what it is. Americans are so fat, we can go for like 6 months without needing any food. Listen, if you got 60 pounds of extra fat on you, then you can go for 60 days. And yeah, you could go for 60 days with no food, at least. If you're a woman, you could go more because usually caloric intake is significantly less. Sonia, I'm just talking about fasting. All right. Jennifer Hack, I always cut off the rabbit's foot before shooting and skinning. Or after shooting. Yeah, I would say not before. After shooting and skinning. It's for luck on the rest of the shoot. Yeah, that's Americans do that too. Some do. Actually, I wouldn't because I didn't. I would clean them and eat them, but I didn't normally do that. I think the dog comment was in response to how to get rid of the squirrels. Oh, I'm sorry. My fault. Let's see. Penny Sanford. Hate raccoons. Both raccoons and possums attack my chicken complex. I keep 2 Great Pyrenees living with my chickens and geese. Well, that should take care of them. You must have a pond then, because you can't have a pond without geese, can you? You can't have a pond without geese, can you? I don't think you can do that, can you? You must have a pond. And I imagine you want a big pond because I missed a bunch of questions up here, not intentionally. I imagine you have a big pond because if you have a little pond, it gets all dirty, doesn't it? With the geese. Geese are good watchdogs. They're used because they can't be bribed. They're not like dogs. They're harder to bribe. Leslie Payne, squirrels are good, and yes, they are. So are raccoons. Very yummy. I don't think I ever had a raccoon, did I? I had squirrels a lot. For a squirrel, you can get them with a pellet gun. That's why our special forces people, sometimes they'll give away pellet guns to village people, to like the headman or whatever. Because, with a good pellet gun, good pump pellet gun, you can knock squirrels right out of the tree. I mean, kill them. And you don't need a firearm. And it's very quiet, right? And it's cheap. You don't need the ammo. You just need pellets, right? And air, So it's a lot cheaper. Depending where you're at, a proper pellet gun can be a nice survival tool because you can hunt with it I used to shoot rabbits. Well, you can kill with a 5 millimeter pellet gun. We had a Sheridan. It was a great pellet gun. You could take out a rabbit as easy as a 22. Actually, mostly I'd use a 22, but you can definitely hunt rabbits with a pellet gun too. And I mean successfully kill them with one shot. Just get a, you have to get a good pellet gun for that. But you can feed the family and you can knock birds out of the trees and eat the birds, Guinea hens are the best. Watch eggs. I like pellet guns, as Donald is saying. I didn't like getting hit with pellets. Yeah. Well, if it's a serious pellet gun, you could get killed with one of those things. I wouldn't think it would happen very often, but has anybody ever been killed with a pellet gun? Somebody must have. Some fool must have put it in their eye and shot it and said, "There you go." I'm missing a lot of questions because it's coming too fast. Chewy Chadwick, Biden and Gorney are live talking Earth Day, and yet Earth. I don't know what's going on with that. Yeah, you could definitely put an eye out with a pellet gun. Man, if you lived out where the prairie dogs, you ever go to Colorado? They got so many prairie dogs. Man, I'd stack up those prairie dogs. I'd be like, what's for dinner? Prairie dogs. Next night, what's for dinner? What do you think? Ranchers would be happy with you. They'd probably let you come out there and do that, wouldn't they? Yeah, deer's good. Let's see. Let's see. Benjamin is like a 22 short. I don't know what you mean. Is Benjamin a pellet gun? Yeah, 22 short is obviously the weakest firearm you can get, to my knowledge. But it'll take out a rabbit. I wouldn't go shooting rabbits at 100 meters with it, but if it's, kind of close. Oh, Steve says a couple of people have been killed in UK with pellet rifles. Those pellet rifles can be pretty serious, actually. Yeah, there's 17 caliber, Matthew says, and then we had one that was 5 millimeter too. What's that 5 millimeter? It was a Sheridan, as I recall. Let me see, 5 millimeter pellet gun. I remember it was very powerful, actually. Oh, here we go, 5 millimeter pellet gun. Yeah, Sheridan. There it is. Hey, it looks like the one. Yeah, it looks like the one I had, Sheridan Silver Streak. It's a powerful, man. You can hunt rabbits with it. I mean, I did. You can take them out. Look at that. Look it up. Sheridan Silver Streak, 5 millimeter pellet gun. That's a nice pellet gun. I'm surprised. I mean, I used to wear my guns out, man. There's not a lot of people that actually wear out a gun, but I do. James, you mentioned Hanta. I'm paying attention to it daily, and I'm not seeing anything that I've been bringing to anybody's attention. It's on my radar every day. I check Hanta every day, and it's out there. It's clearly doing its Hanta thing, but not enough that I'm gonna waste people's time on it. But if it gets bigger, you can rest assured. I'll tell you on the same day that I think it's serious. Jennifer Hack, yeah, the Sheridan, you pump it. It's pumped, so you pump it like 10 times. You'll feel it. The cylinder will get hot, and you know how they get hot. And then it's nice, steady, very well constructed rifle, air rifle. Why am I not eating? Sandra says. Numerous reasons at once. One is it's just very healthy, super healthy, but also I think there's a very high chance we're going to end up in shooting more, and I need to be fit. I need to be thin. I need to be a lot thinner than I am now, because you need to be. You see how these beefcake soldiers these days and that sort of thing, like some are look like professional bodybuilders. When I was in the Army, keep in mind I was usually the most muscular one of most of the Green Berets that I would see back then, because the sort of thing that we trained for was uh, didn't require a lot of brute strength, like to be able to deadlift 10,000 pounds. It required a lot of stamina. It required a lot of really hard work out in the boonies, right? And a lot of the guys with huge big muscles couldn't actually take that very well. And I was kind of a hybrid. I had the muscles, but not so much that I was all muscle bound and looked like one of those guys. I'm not saying anything bad about them, because in different combat situations they're better. You know what I mean? It just depends on the situation. But I want to be thinned up, actually. Thin is definitely better. Another good thing about fasting is, like, when I was hunting cannibals years ago, I would love to tell you the story, but things keep getting in the way, like the insurgency in Hong Kong, and now the virus, and now whatever comes out of this, our economy collapsing. I just no chance to tell the cannibal stories. But it was epic hunting. I was stalking cannibals. I was getting them in the jungles and that sort of thing. And you know, one of the most important qualities when you're doing something like that is the ability to just sit still and be still in your mind and still in your body. If you're hunting the way like that, you got to be able to just be still and be quiet for like a long time, like day and night, day and night, day and night. I watched one bridge for 3 weeks. I watched it for 3 weeks, and this was in the same spot. I would always watch that bridge. Not exactly the same spot, but sometimes the same spot, and then I would move a little bit, but mostly the same spot. And you have to be calm. You know what I mean? You have to be like not jumping around. I gotta go do something. It's like, no, I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna watch this bridge. I'm gonna wait until he comes across. I'm gonna get him. It's like it took 5 weeks. It was 3 weeks that I watched it, and five. And anyway, long. I'll tell you, if we ever get to the story of I'm able to write these books, I'm gonna lay it all out, and I'll show you pictures and videos and of what was going on. It was epic. But yeah, it's very, controlling what you put in your mouth insofar as food and drink and water. It's a combat skill. And you need to be calm. You have to be calm. You have to be able to go somewhere. Like, I see so many people are sending me messages. They're stir crazy and stuff. They're like going nuts. If we don't get out, we're going to tear down the town. I'm like, chill. It's like, you got to learn to be calm. That's a very vital combat skill, is to be calm, to be relaxed, chill. Come on. Control your mind, and interesting. Hey, there's a movie, you can look it up, called The Men Who Stare at Goats. You heard of that movie, The Men Who Stare at Goats? That's actually a true story. Have you seen the movie? If not, look it up. I think it's The Men Who Stare at Goats, right? I've seen the movie. The Men Who Stare at Goats. Let me see. The Men Who Stare at Goats. Let me see here. The Men Who Stare at Goats. The Men. Let me see. If somebody can see The Men Who Stare at Goats, can you put a link up about here that's got like the trailer to it? Here it is. Yeah, The Men Who Stare. It's a comedy, but it's actually a true story. Yeah, here it is. It's The Men Who Stare at Goats, and it's The Men Who Stare at Goats is actually a true story. That was my unit. But I didn't go through that training. It was two other A teams, right? But I knew people on the A team. They were my friends. And it was actually because the mission that we were planning to do and trained hard to do was to parachute in right here. I don't want to put my pencil on the map. You never put a pencil on a map. You know what I mean? Actually, if you're in a special forces unit and you put a pencil on a map, somebody will slap that pencil right out of your hand. You never mark a map unless you're marking it to be left behind for the enemy to capture. Like, you might leave a map on your body that's got fake markings on it in case you get killed. They find the marking with the base camp at a different place, which you've already put mines in or whatever. Let's see. But so we were planning to parachute right there specifically, at a place called Białystok. That's Poland. I was stationed here in Germany. So we were going to parachute right here. Enemy lines were about right here, something like that. So we were going to parachute way back there behind the enemy lines, right? And no resupply, anything like that. And so how are we going to eat? How are we going to do all these things? So our mission was to go back and just do a lot of stuff, and then which basically involved killing people, and then link up with Polish resistance and help Poland kill more people. So that's what our job was, right? So how are you going to resupply? This was way back. There was not going to be any resupply, and so obviously everybody's thinking about how can we control our minds well enough to do this, to be out there, because once that's a one-way trip. There ain't no helicopters that were going to come get us. We didn't even have a plan for helicopters to get us. There was no plan of extraction. You get it? One-way trip. Kamikaze. You know what I mean? That's why I respect kamikazes. I'm a kamikaze. I was literally training to do a kamikaze mission. My friends and I were. We were going to kamikaze their asses and kill them. As many as we could, and then they were probably going to kill us. But yeah, right there. So that Men Who Stares at Goats was something that we jokingly called the Jedi Warrior Program. And it was really called something else. Anyway, the guy that ran the program, he's a psychologist from San Francisco, I believe, named Strozzi. Anyway, if you look on the back of my first book, Danger Close, which I have here somewhere, I've actually got a blurb from him, a nice blurb from the guy that ran the program, The Men Who Stare at Goats, where it was really about mind control. And then they took that program somehow. It was secret. I mean, I don't know how it all got out, but somehow it got out. And Strozzi, he wrote a book about it actually, and then they made that comedy movie out of it. But it was actually a true program. It wasn't. It makes when they in the movie it sounds kind of kooky, but it was kooky in real life too. I didn't go through it, but the intentions were serious. Jennifer Hack, the Brits left a dead body in a military uniform with fake marked maps and invasion plans for the Nazis. It's normal. You should always carry fake stuff on you. I mean, if you're in a position where you might get, the enemy might capture your body. That's one final shot at them. You know what I mean? No, I didn't point at Southeast Germany. Oh, yeah, I did when I was. No, I was talking about. I did. I pointed to Poland and Germany. I pointed to. That's where we were going to parachute into, but I was down right about here. Oh, there's Munich right there. So I was just south of Minga. Wo die Leitstinger. Ich habe in Bad Tolz gewohnt. Ich war in Bad Tolz stationiert. So ich war in Bayern. Verstehst du, Boris? Ich kann ein bisschen Boris sprechen. Ich kann ein bisschen Bayerisch sprechen. Kannst du das verstehen? I can still speak a little German, can I? Let's see. So Barry put it up, I think, The Men Who Stare at Goats. But yeah, that was actually a true program. It's funny. So I watched that movie. I was laughing like crazy because I was like, this is a real program. It's like, and, yeah, that's right. Bad tea, James. Bad Tolz. I love that place. I like the Germans there too. I like Bavarians. Every time I meet Bavarians, I like them. Kevin Greenleaf, man, I can't imagine what plans Task Force Green has for impending war with China. They're going to cause a whole lot of mischief. I don't think they're going to do what we were going to do. Schwaben here. All right. Schwaben. Yeah, I was down in Bad Tolz. Yeah, and Barry says, ja, ich verstehe Deutsch ein bisschen. I was there in 1LK for training with U.S. troops and other NATO. Great. Hawk. Jennifer Hack. Wunderlich. Danke. Wunderlich. Wunderlich. All right. So if there's not any more questions, I hope I answered everything, but it seems like I missed a bunch up there. We'll go ahead and go offline. I got to call Connie. Connie's waiting on a call. And then that's it. Remember, 6 series, ISBN numbers, barcodes. Look them up. No Chinese products. Mike out.